uh, threat intelligence is pretty much to solve the problem with classical security solutions. So, for you to understand that, I'm gonna essentially take on, for example, your antivirus. So, a classical antivirus is nothing but an engine. So, this is an engine, and this engine is fed by kind of like a lookup table of signatures. So your antivirus every now and then is gonna kind of like query the server that hosts new signatures, and is gonna download a bunch of signatures to check with everything you're kind of like executing on your machine. So for example, everything going from your hard disk into your RAM, going through your CPU is gonna hit the engine, and we're gonna make sure it does not really kind of like match a signature. So if it matches a signature, we drop it, uh, and if it does not, we let it pass. So this is how pretty much an antivirus engine works. Threat intelligence took on the antivirus model, and it was more of like challenging the idea that we should kind of like hunt signatures, because at the end of the day, you got a hacker, right? And a hacker would usually have an arsenal of different tools. They would have like a bunch of 0 days. 0 days essentially a thing that like an exploit or a vulnerability that nobody else knows about. So it was not patched by the vendor. Antiviruses cannot really block it because they don't even know that it exists, and your firewall is not going to pretty much do anything about it, because again, all these classical security solutions depend on like depend on signatures. So if it's a 0 day, you don't have a signature for it, hence you're not really protected. They would have a bunch of Trojans, remote access Trojans. They would have a bunch of exploits, who said that, a bunch of kind of like tactics. They have their own tactics. They have their own spam, kind of like campaigns. They would have knowledge that no other hacker would have. So, for example, a hacker may specialize in industrial control systems, kind of like SCADA systems. Another hacker would kind of like specialize in kind of like iOS or whatever. So hackers kind of usually specialize based on their knowledge. Maybe they have internal knowledge into a certain company. Maybe they used to work somewhere and they know so much about it that they can actually be the best hacker for that place and whatnot. So that's pretty much the idea of a hacker. And the classical security solutions always try to actually understand how to block these. Threat intelligence is pretty much blocking the hacker, him or herself, because like a hacker would essentially have a billion kind of like new kind of like attack tactics, new attack modifications. I mean, a hacker is, at the end of the day, is a living person, and they evolve. They evolve. They adapt. They learn new stuff. They apply new tactics. They research, and they keep on evolving, and they keep on kind of like developing new tools. So if you keep on hunting their tools, you're kind of like in a very bad situation where you're just hunting every day new tools. Like hackers get to be really creative about their tools, and it's very hard to see this coming to an end. However, with threat intelligence, we're trying to actually understand the hacker, him or herself, and we're trying to focus on 0 days. So how does that work? So essentially, let's say I'm gonna go with an example now. So let's say this hacker is going to attack a certain bank, right? Let's go with banks, just kind of like give you an idea how threat intelligence would be like actually extremely useful. So this is gonna be Bank A, right? Bank A has a really big security department with threat hunters. They have like all the kind of like the smart people. They have honeypots set everywhere, and they're always analyzing the logs. So they have a lot of kind of like security resources. That's right. But the hacker attacked them using a new tactic, using some knowledge they leveraged, or using a 0 day or whatnot. But they actually broke into the bank. In the very first day, they stole $100,000. However, by the second day, the security department reviewing logs actually flagged that, and they understood that this was a fraud transaction, and they blocked out the hacker. They have a lot of information now about the hacker, about his tactics, about his or her tactics, about their tools and whatnot. So Bank A actually has a lot of information that can protect other banks. So let's say right now we have Bank B extremely vulnerable to the same thing, because usually if you're in the same sector, you're in the same country. You can see right now it's kind of like financial services, right? That's the sector. The country, let's assume it's the U.S. Same country, same sector, and same time frame. Let's say this happened in first quarter in 2019, right? So these banks are usually kind of like using the same systems. If they're using the same systems, they're almost extremely similarly vulnerable to the same attacks. So let's say the hacker goes by Bank A, security department actually flags the transaction, the fraud transaction, and they block the hacker, right? They block the hacker, absolutely. They block the IP, they block the URL, they block the tactics until they contact the vendor and try to get the 0-day fix, or however, like whatever way the hacker made it through Bank A, they're trying to kind of like patch that down. So Bank A actually has a lot of information about the hacker. The thing is, with banks, for example, they would never actually share the information in between them, and this happens all around the world. It's pretty bad, because when banks say that they got hacked, when they acknowledge that and they actually release the information to protect other people, other financial services, kind of like ventures and firms, they are exposing themselves into a lot of bad PR. So the moment your local bank is going to say they got hacked, I bet you anything, your grandma is going to go there, pull all her life savings from that bank, and everybody's going to assume that this bank is extremely insecure. However, in the security field, we know that banks get attacked and successfully hacked almost every day, but for obvious reasons, we don't really see that in our own kind of like mainstream media, right? So this is essentially the idea, where if Bank A had a way to communicate with Bank B, they would actually protect Bank B. But given what we have right now, this does not happen, and the second hacker, the same hacker is going to attack the second bank. When attacking the second bank doesn't really have so many resources to throw as security. So the first 100K are being pulled out. The second day comes in. Nobody reviews the logs really. Nobody looked at their anomaly detection kind of like modules. Nobody actually found out that the hacker was there. And the bank keeps on losing money until someone in their IT actually gives enough shits about it and actually look at the logs and find the fraud transactions. And this may be or may not be detected in a matter of fact. And you can see that this is not really helpful for anybody. I mean, when banks get hacked, you're not really benefiting Bank A if Bank B got hacked. At the end of the day, they're essentially sharing the country's resources, and you're wasting a lot of money out of like the banking system. And as you can see, it's not really the smartest way of doing it. So we envision a way where Bank A can actually talk to Bank B and warn them the moment they actually get like the information about the hacker, because this is like really time critical. It has to be communicated in real time. It has to be communicated in a secure manner, and preferably an anonymous manner. And this is the problem right now with threat intelligence, and we're going to get to that point down the road. But right now, this is how a threat intelligence model would execute, protecting the second bank because Bank A already got hacked. So essentially, it's more of like an environment where everybody is sharing information to protect each other from 0 days, and these are increasing like crazy. And hackers, because when you block a hacker, you know their tactics, you know their IP, you know their URL. You try to actually understand a hacker or a hacker group, and that protects you down the road when they develop their arsenals. So that's the idea of threat intelligence. We're gonna talk about how to actually generate threats and how to identify threats down the road. But essentially, that was the main idea of threat intelligence. So instead of having signatures saying that yes, this is a Trojan or this is not a Trojan, we are actually now having threat intelligence in real time, not really signatures, because signatures you can download these like weekly or whatever. But threat intelligence, you need to get this right now, because the moment the hacker hacks bank A, they will right away go hack bank B. It happens like almost instantaneously because they already have the tools to break the system. And this is where threat intelligence becomes really, really useful, and you can actually protect the whole kind of like sector in a certain country, because one security department in this sector in this country identified a problem. So that's pretty much threat intelligence in a nutshell. In the next video, I'm gonna talk about how we actually identify these threats and how do we know that there is a hacker that hacked us and whatnot. Stay tuned, and next video it is.